Welcome to Realidad Chronometro with 3 zeros, the channel where truth is often stranger than fiction. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and comment, because today, we're diving into a story that few know about. If it's true, it could change the way we see one of the greatest science fiction writers of all time, Isaac Asimov. We all know Asimov for his stories about robots, galactic empires, and futuristic worlds where humanity fights to survive among the stars. But what if I told you that his own wife claimed to have had encounters with beings from another world? And what if I told you that Asimov knew something, but chose to keep silent? Let's start from the beginning. Isaac Asimov was born in 1920 in Russia, but grew up in the United States. From a young age, he was a genius in both science and literature, writing hundreds of books on physics, biology, history, and, of course, science fiction. But there was something curious about his way of thinking. He was an absolute skeptic. For him, paranormal events, UFOs, and anything that couldn't be explained scientifically were simply fantasies. However, his wife, Janet Asimov, had a different story to tell. After Isaac's death in 1992, Janet began speaking about experiences she had kept secret for years, experiences she couldn't share while her husband was alive. According to her, she had encountered extraterrestrial beings and had even been abducted on more than one occasion. According to her account, it all started in the 1970s. Janet, a psychiatrist and writer like her husband, began experiencing episodes of lost time. She would go to sleep and wake up hours later, feeling as if something had happened but with no clear memory. Over time, she began to recall fragments. Strange lights outside her window, tall, thin figures watching her, and the sensation of floating outside her bed. The most disturbing event was one in particular. According to Janet, one night she woke up in a completely white room. No windows, no doors. She was lying on what seemed to be a metallic examination table, and above her stood 3 beings. They weren't the typical grays from popular culture. They were different. Tall, slender, with deep dark eyes, and a presence that wasn't hostile, but unsettling. She claimed they tried to communicate with her, not with words, but with thoughts. In her mind, she heard a clear message: "You are not ready to remember." When she woke up in her bed, she found strange marks on her skin. When she told Isaac what had happened, he reacted in the only way he knew how, with cold logic. He told her it was just a dream, a hallucination caused by stress, nothing more. But Janet wasn't convinced. Over the years, this became a source of tension between them. Isaac didn't want to hear anything about extraterrestrials, UFOs, or abductions. He completely avoided the topic. But here's where it gets even stranger. Janet claimed that Isaac was afraid, not skeptical. It wasn't just that he didn't believe what she was saying. He didn't want to talk about it, as if he knew something he couldn't reveal. After Isaac's death in 1992, Janet finally began speaking more openly about her experiences. In interviews and writings, she hinted that her husband had knowledge of certain things, but for some reason, never wanted to explore them. Some believe that Asimov, due to his connections with the scientific and technological communities of his time, may have had access to classified information about extraterrestrial life, but chose to stay silent. Others think he simply feared that any association with the paranormal would damage his reputation. But here's the biggest question. What if Asimov actually knew the truth, and his skepticism was just a mask to hide it? Think about this. During the Cold War, many influential figures in science and literature were under government surveillance. We know that the CIA and other agencies had programs dedicated to investigating unidentified aerial phenomena. Could Asimov have had access to information that forced him to keep quiet? Or perhaps his absolute denial was his way of protecting himself and his wife. Either way, after his death, Janet had no reason to remain silent. She spoke about her experiences, about what she felt, and about the possibility that humanity had been in contact with higher intelligences without even realizing it. But here's where the story takes another eerie turn. Janet died in 2019, and with her death, much of what she had shared was either minimized or ignored. There are no official records of her speaking extensively about this in public interviews, and some fragments of her statements are difficult to find. So, what does this all mean? Did Asimov really know something and keep it secret his whole life? Was his skepticism genuine, or was it a shield to keep him out of trouble? And what if his wife really was abducted? In the end, we don't have definitive answers, but we do have something even more important. Questions. Questions that force us to look beyond the official narrative. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Isaac Asimov knew something he didn't want to share? Or was he simply a skeptic who refused to believe? Subscribe, leave a like, and get ready. Because here on Realidad Chronometro with 3 zeros, truth is always stranger than fiction. Remember, truth can be stranger than fiction.